quorum. It's 5:31, Trustee Moore, respectfully. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's time. It is time. We're going to call to order at 5:31 p.m. Good evening, everybody. We're going to turn this over to Jessica Reed for our roll call, followed by a moment of silence.
Thank you. President Letitia Walker.
Present.
Vice President Shirley Baker. Trustee Shamika Brown.
Here.
Trustee Kathy Corbin.
Here.
Trustee Felice Holder.
Here.
Trustee Brenda Moore.
Present.
Trustee Jerron Morris. And Student Trustee Tristan Simmons. That completes the roll call.
Moment of silence, please. Let us stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Motion to adopt tonight's agenda. Holder. Corbin, questions? Hearing none. All in favor, any opposed or abstaining? The count is 5. I want to welcome you tonight to the annual goal setting. Tonight's special meeting is an open session for the Board of Education to demonstrate its best thinking around goal setting for the district. We've each been tasked with crafting goals to show you what's important to us and how we plan to achieve it. As you will all hear last meeting, our superintendent of schools helped in that conversation, shared his top 3 goals, and it will be interesting to see tonight where our goals fall. Let us now read the mission statement. To inspire the passion for learning and educating all students to achieve their full potential. And now we'll go directly into it. If the Board of Education is okay, I'm going to go over to that podium. That screen will show you the exemplar or the demonstration of my thoughts while setting these goals. It'll help you see my thought pattern. You'll see that I'll also make reference to the superintendent's goals, and then you each will share your goals. Good? Perfect. Ms. Gomez, do you have a copy of the superintendent's goals?
I do not, unless it was
Right here. And then, Ms. Gomez, for purpose of this discussion, do you want a copy of that particular, or will the PowerPoint suffice?
The PowerPoint is sufficient.
All right, I'll move over there.
Good, how are you doing?
Testing. Volume okay? Again, welcome to tonight's goal setting presentation. Let me grab my glasses. Pardon. Doesn't look that foggy from here. It looks a lot.
You could turn the podium around.
Yeah. It's just customary that we should look ahead of you. We look forward, right? Not behind us. So when we had our conversation last time, we talked a little bit about SMART goals. You guys remember that? And we talked about what that means in terms of the steps. Trustee Holder asked me a little bit about what the steps meant, right? Do you guys remember what those 5 words mean? If you had to take a stab at it, do you remember? What does it mean to be specific?
Something targeted.
Right, defines what? And then measurable? What does it mean to be measurable?
Where you can see any achievements that have been made.
It gives you a way to quantify, right? It gives you a pathway to progress or successes. It gives you a way to quantify, to make it, to give some the brevity of what you say is backed up by what you actually see, right? Because we're a data-rich district, but when we measure it, it shows us where the data lies.
Mm-hmm.
And then achievable. Achievable. It means having the resources that are available to us presently taking them and distributing them the best way possible to meet the student need. And relevant. Relevant means it should align with the district goals, the board's goals, and hopefully they intersect. That's the ultimate goal.
With the real needs.
Exactly. And timely. What does it mean to be timely as you set a goal?
Done at the appropriate time and need.
Deliverable, right? A specific time to meet the actual plan, whatever you've come up with. So for tonight, I want you all to know that as I was thinking about goals, I crafted 6 of them. Obviously, we might not use all 6, but I crafted 6. And all 6 relate to one area, because we always talk about it: student achievement. It's a term that refers to the measurable, quantifiable outcomes and the attainment of educational goals by students, the student population, assessed through standardized testing and grades and classroom assignments and the acquisition of skills and knowledge and progress. Would we agree that that's a fair definition of student achievement? It's important to give it background and context because we have been struggling with what they call student achievement in various aspects of our tenure here, right? So there's some major keys, the way I see it. Test scores, assignment grades, satisfying diploma requirements, and ultimately degrees, right? Measurable outcomes. And then we want young people to be able to look at short-term and long-term educational plans. Like, some are gonna go to college, some are, and then others might use CTE programs, career and technical education, pathways. There are learning standards. What is a learning standard? It's how well students meet goals for their grade level or their subject level, right? And then just acquisition of skills and knowledge. The ability to think, that's what cognition is, and then the ability to apply what you think about and what you've absorbed. That's the way I see the major keys in student achievement. We have a young student, Mr. Tristan here, and when you're in the classroom, Tristan, what do you think you rely on the most when your teacher's standing in front of you? Use your microphone. As it pertains to getting through your class day, absorbing material, being able to respond to your teacher or give her new ways to think about him or her, the information that they've just given to you.
I think the one-on-one connection is definitely the biggest thing. Handing a student a paper and talking to them, actually teaching them the material is a big difference between that. And I think that when that barrier is dropped between student and teacher and now person to person, it's more of a connection.
So Christian talks about achievement through the lens of connection and rapport building, and it's not unusual to hear young people talk about that, because after you.
And then, once you have that connection, what are you relying on to understand the information that's presented?
Well, most things I learn in the classroom, I also apply to real life experience. So as far as I'm going, whether it would be math or now I'm doing nursing assistant, real life experiences and conversations will always be able to be applied to the classroom. And that's one of the biggest things that should be going around when you're spreading material.
Right.
Excellent. So he's talking about a real life connection in real time that's happening every single day to help him absorb the material and apply it to his area of interest, right? So when we measure student achievement, we're looking at standardized tests. We compare student performance against grade level benchmarks, against other schools sometimes, against New York State data. Trustee Moore talked about looking at the New York State report card and understanding where those numbers come from. Again, we look at grades and assessments, classroom evaluations, tests, homework, classwork, study hall, resource room. All those things are looked at and compiled because we want to reach what? We want to reach what? We want to reach the graduation mark. We want to reach the graduation mark, and not only do we want to reach it, we want to surpass. We want to meet and surpass. We want to increase the percentage of the students who graduate high school. So you've heard Dr. Wright and Dr. Kwan talk a lot about seals of civic readiness, looking at other college and career prep. You've heard them talk about rigorous testing, regents, and AP development in our schools, because the readiness index has to go up, right? It has to go up in order for us to be able to compete in real time with real world leaders. We're building leaders here, right? So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about student achievement. It's not moving, is it?
Dr. Jordan?
Dr. Jordan, if you don't mind. Got it?
Oh, there we
We're
go.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jordan. Thank you, sir. But there are certain things in districts like ours that create barriers. There are certain things. What creates barriers, Tristan?
There could be distraction in the class. That's one of the biggest things. The voice is definitely also our next thing. You don't want to come off too soft, nor do you want to come off too aggressive to the point where you're almost pushing away that student. You don't want to do that. So that's another thing. A voice has to be very attracting. Personality. You want to make sure that outside and inside of the classroom that you're making yourself almost a place where a student wants to be, a student wants to talk to, and all of that things matter into teaching.
What else, Trustee Corbin? If you had to think about something that might stop our young people from achieving at the levels we'd like to see them achieve, what could that be?
What would stop them from achieving?
Yes, ma'am.
Not coming to school.
Big. Attendance. What else?
Family dynamic, how you want to do it.
Yeah. And not being getting a morning breakfast.
Nutrition. So you named 3 heavy hitters: attendance, poor nutrition, lack of family involvement and support. Classroom instruction, like the gentleman just said, the quality of who's teaching you and what type of instruction, what type of learning expectations you hear about, and the conditions that are set for you to learn in, impact your learning and your achievement. Your socioeconomic status, poverty. I like to define poverty as lack. I wrote curriculum for Facebook probably 3 years ago now, and we talked about poverty in the lens of lack and what that means. There's 7 types. We won't get into it today, but lack, it has a negative influence on student learning. Student engagement, we heard a little bit about it. And student engagement is a heavy one because it's connected to a lot of things like family engagement, community engagement, poor student attendance, low morale, low motivation to attend school, decreased family involvement, and inadequate community support or relationships adversely affect student achievement. And you always hear Dr. Wright, and Dr. Wright will probably have a chance to talk about setting the learning condition, learning disabilities, exceptional learners, having adequate school resources and facilities. All affect how we learn. Would you agree?
Right.
So when I look at the background context of student achievement, 3 things stand out to me. And based on our last conversation, I think it stands out to you too. Attendance rates, graduation rates, and community engagement. What does that look like in a goal? So Dr. Wright shared with us his top 3 goals. And we have a goal that marries Dr. Wright, so we're going to enter into a conversation around graduation rates. Because you also had a window about student achievement. You ready? Can you share with us what you wrote about graduation rates?
So, when I looked at student achievement, I looked at it from a perspective of putting a system, really creating the conditions for all scholars to achieve at higher rates. And so that's how I framed the goal. I said to create the conditions for scholars to achieve increased levels of success during the 2025-2026 school year. And when you look at it from that lens, we're looking at there's something that needs to change overall for us to improve outcomes, for students across. I didn't want to just look at high school, because I think we need the whole continuum from our early childhood data on up, or our early childhood scholars on up, because we have data that shows whether or not we are having a major impact, positive impact on their lives. And so I wanted to make sure we're looking at all of that.
So Dr. Wright looks at it from a multi-tiered perspective through a systems lens. So because he does this every day, that's his charge, to look at it every day, to put systems in place, to use the expertise of his cabinet and his fellow leaders to pull those rates up. As board members, our job is to govern and to look at the overall objective. So I challenged Dr. Wright in a friendly banter last time. I said, what happens if you don't put a percentage, and what happens if you don't put a deliverable on it? So my goal looks something like this. Increase the district's high school graduation rate from 64% to 70% by June 2026, as evidenced by expanding differentiated instruction in classrooms and increasing tutoring sessions across grades in the high school by 10%. It's smart. It's a smart goal. Why is it smart, Brown?
I'm kind of lost right there.
Because it's specific.
I'm trying to figure out, you said from 64% to 70%, that's it?
This is an exemplar, so those numbers are not written in stone. We can change them. It could be 70% to 85%, whatever we decide as a board, but it demonstrates the proper way to write a goal. Okay, so it's a SMART goal, Pastor Cole, because it's specific.
Yes.
It's measurable. It is attainable. It's relevant to what we want as a board. And it has a timely deadline, right? Of course, we know that when we start to put percentage marks on things, the pressure drive is a little high. And now when we look at Dr. Kwan's curriculum and we will look at Dr. Wright's systems, do we think it's possible to achieve it? Did anyone else write a goal around graduation? And would you mind sharing it if you did?
Yes, I did. My goal around the graduation rate was that, and let me say this, according to New York State Department of Education, improvement is considered 2%. Is it 2 or 3?
Maybe 2%, 2.5.
Okay.
Dr. Kwan, do you know what that is?
2%. However, when we look at our graduation rate, there's legislation that was on the table in Albany. It has not been brought back, and hopefully it doesn't. But and that is to say that the Wyandanch School District is in need of academic monitors because the graduation rate falls below the state average, which is 81%. So with that being said, with us being behind by 17%, my opinion, I believe that we should at least strive to raise the graduation rate by 5%, because each year, because not only will it show that we are improving as a district in the eyes of the state, but that we're going above and beyond even state expectations when it comes to improvement. Unfortunately, over the last 7 years, our graduation rate has averaged between 63 and 64%. And that is something that I wouldn't be proud of. But if we are going to take it above and beyond and could strive for the additional 3%, then I think that the state would really look at us and say, all right, this school district is improving.
So let's talk about it. If the average, Dr. Kwan, you can jump in at any point, is 2%, how realistic is it to jump from, and please correct the numbers, remember this is an exemplar, it's not written in stone, it's just a demonstration of your understanding of how to write a goal, right? Dr. Kwan, talk to us. Are we at a 64? Can we move to a 66? Can we be ambitious and move 5%?
So I believe that we can. And the reason why I believe that is because with sort of the graces of New York State and looking at Portrait of a Graduate, you know, we're looking at many different pathways towards graduation. And so I think that we have a very solid team on this side of the table where we're looking at, in our little worlds, we're looking at how we can do that through CDOS. We're looking how we can do that to increase passing of Regents exams. We're looking at MLE. We're looking at all different ways that our students can achieve that goal. So I do believe it is possible, and I believe that now that we have a solid team and we are all working together, I believe that it's achievable because the graduation looks different for all different students.
I agree.
Dr. Wright, so we got some percentages we're playing with in there. Talk to us. What do you think?
I mean, I don't have a problem with percentages overall. I just look at that as measurable outcomes, right? So I had it the opposite in the opposite column. The only thing I would say is, I would look at the tracker that Dr. Jordan is creating, because what that would do is, and it'll be finalized, very soon, it would let us know what percentage of students are on track at this point, because we know that it's not 100% of our seniors that are on track, but I would just want to know what percentage is on track so that I know, from that point, yeah. That's the way I think that we can set goals that are a little bit more informed, but yeah, that's the only difference. And I say I would have that, when would you say? Friday, yes.
Okay, Board of Ed, so here's the thing. He agrees, we agree that there should be a graduation goal. Do we agree? Dr. Jordan now has to provide the data so that we're more informed about what that number should actually look like. Dr. Jordan, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you had to give a rough estimate, would you be able, or should we just wait until Friday?
Please wait until Friday.
Fair enough. So, Mr. Chase, let the record reflect that the Board of Education will receive tracked data concerning graduation rates to make goal number 1 a little more informed and more well-rounded for the Board of Education, if they decide to adopt it. Fair?
There may be some confusion here.
Go ahead.
Because now I see that this is in two parts.
Yes.
The first part is, because the question that was asked to Dr. Kwan is, are we able, what percentage could we attain? Is it 5%? But then with the tracker, that's, in my opinion, a second part. Because if we're going to decide on, regardless what we do, we're looking to set a goal of 5% or whatever over a 3-year period, then that's one thing. But when it comes to tracking and bringing those students back in and identifying them and even seeing where they're at, that's a whole different aspect, in my opinion. I don't know if anyone else sees it that way as well.
I don't see it that way. I think it's two sides of the same coin, quite frankly.
But the reason why I say that too is because, and I'm looking at this where it says reduce the number of excused absences by 50. Okay. But let's say if a child does not have 900 hours of seat time, then essentially they don't have, or they have been absent for, I believe, 18 days. Once identified as chronically absent, according to New York State, that child cannot really matriculate because you have not been in school. So you can show up and still pass, and you can show us that you know the material, but technically you're supposed to be held back because you have not been in school. So if you are absent, you are a part of that percentage that does not graduate because you have not been here. So if we even pull those kids back in, who you may be a student who does exceptionally in the classroom, but you're just not here. That's another aspect of increasing the graduation rate, is just through that kind of outreach. That's the way I look at it.
I don't think we disagree. I think we agree. I think the point is, if we put percentages in, we just want to give a more accurate picture of what that percentage should look like. I think that was the point.
Gotcha.
Okay? It doesn't mean that those two aspects of that continuum don't matter, because they do. It's all interlocked. It's all interlocked. But I think if we say 64 versus 74, we have to have a reason. Even though we want to say we want to increase it by 5% or whatever that looks like. And Dr. Jordan, feel free to give clarity on your track system and how you see it as a piece of the puzzle.
I just want to add this, if it's okay with you, Dr. Wright. Graduation's a lagging indicator. So I think when we're talking about increasing graduation rate, it's very difficult to increase graduation rate from one year to the next, because the two biggest indicators of high school graduation are 8th grade attendance and 9th grade credit accumulation. So it's important for us to play what I call the short game. And when we look at goal number 1, President Walker, increasing tutoring sessions across the grades in the high school, that's the short game, because that's going to try and get the kids that we need to pull up to make sure they can graduate. That's our twilight. Those are all short games. The long game is student engagement in the middle school and really, really supporting our 9th graders, because as you fail classes in the 9th grade, that credit gap gets harder and harder to close. And the worst, in my opinion, Tristan, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, the worst class for a student to fail is phys ed.
Stop there, Dr. Jordan. Now, that's exactly why I wrote it the way that I did. I know, because I'm a parent, and I know that young people need tutoring. Reinforcement, right? Now, we probably have the manpower to increase it some way, somehow. That's Dr. Wright's job to figure out where he'll put tutoring, or if he even thinks tutoring is the right mechanism to use. But the point is, we want to move the marker. Tristan, talk to me. What do you think about tutoring?
Before I answer that, I just want to set clear the demographic and what we're working with here.
Yeah.
Although we may work with these kids from middle school, we still have kids that's coming from their home country during the middle of the school year and looking to graduate that school year. We're not going to stop and say we're not going to work with those kids. We still need to try to get them to graduate.
Right.
And that all plays into the percentage. That's going to fit into that tracker. And now we're going to look at that data and analyze it as well.
Right.
So where I'm going with this is there has to be an overall data set system, especially for that specific demographic, and those kids that choose work over school, those kids that have to provide for a family, or those kids that just wouldn't come to school.
I agree.
The attendance is a problem. Attendance is a big thing. And we can't just give up on those kids. It's paining me almost to hear that we're just gonna say that we're gonna set them back. We have to do something to pull them forward.
I agree.
Because that right there will show them that you want them to come, that you want to help them, and you want to get them to graduate with their class.
Perfectly said. Great segue. So, Dr. Wright, let's jump into increasing attendance. Would you read your goal, please, sir?
Yes, to identify and analyze the barriers that are preventing improvement in student attendance rates.
Excellent. So, a SMART goal around absenteeism could look something like this. Reduce the number of unexcused absences by 15% in the next quarter, as evidenced by enhancing student health initiatives like information resources and health fairs that promote healthy habits, physical activity, nutrition, providing incentives for good attendance, and improving a district-wide attendance system. I heard Trustee Corbin talk about nutrition. If you wanted to mention a little bit about why it's important that young people are eating, or even Tristan can talk about that. And then the physical activity and promoting activities for youth to make them interested, motivated, to increase morale around school. Anybody could. And if anyone wrote a goal around absenteeism, please share it.
Trustee Morris, yours has
Yes.
something in it.
Please.
I have it. Want it?
Oh, that's even better. I didn't know it was out here.
You got a copy of it?
No, I just bought it. I'm
I
sorry.
just want to bring
Thank
one.
Thank you, sir. So when it comes to the goals that I drafted and submitted last week, this is under expand student support services. And so I put down that we should hire additional social workers, guidance counselors, and mental health professionals to meet student needs. Implement a district-wide socio-emotional learning curriculum. There is none. Establish partnerships with local agencies to provide on-site counseling, health screenings, and family support. And I believe in doing so, it will reduce chronic absenteeism and behavioral incidents because a lot of our students don't come to school, and thankfully I'm glad Tristan did bring up the point about either one, they have to provide for a family, which hopefully will be addressed in the portrait of a graduate through work experience credits. But then the second thing is a lot of our students are too embarrassed to come to school due to the lack that they have experienced in the household, whether it be through hygiene or even appearance. And so they just don't want to come to school and rather sit at home in that condition where no one can see them than to be facing the public, so to say. So I do believe that if we expand our student support services, that we can also reduce chronic absenteeism. And that's also before the home visits and whatnot, 'cause that also ties in. But that is what I put down as my goal with that.
Thank you, sir. I don't disagree. I think those are all important components. Dr. Wright?
Yeah, I think it would fit. Oh, thank you. I think it would fit in measurable objectives. Yeah, a lot of what you just talked about, those are things we should strive for in terms of our objectives to meet the goal.
And there was another thing I did put with my fourth goal, which is we sporadically do home visits for whatever reason. We have, or we don't have really attendance specialists anymore. For the last 2 years now, they were hired as attendance teachers. And we have people in district who have the authority under the law to conduct home visits to get an understanding as to why a child is not coming to school. As I heard when Dr. Jordan mentioned, and I did put it down here, that the district should have a system in place where it would identify these students who need a home visit done. And the reason why we do need to do it is because, one, we risk our funding, and two, we should know the whereabouts of our students at the end of the day, so that we can identify, is this child who hasn't been to school in 6 months, are they at least okay? Because, God forbid something happens, the court of law is going to come to the school district and say, well, they haven't been to school in 6 months. Why didn't you do the outreach? And we have the manpower to do it. And I think that if we have that constant presence, that would also reduce. Also, another thing, a few years ago, someone said CPS was the last resort. Unfortunately, educational neglect is a crime, and you can call CPS for such. We may have to do that at this point, with our numbers being so high, and we're not able to determine why certain kids are not coming to school. If there's not that life trauma or experience event that is hindering them from coming to school, and the child just not showing up and the parent doesn't care, we need to call CPS.
And determine whether or not those young people are actually on our roster, right? Dr. Jordan often talks about young people we're responsible for them, but we don't know where they are. They don't belong to us. So again, those are all pieces of a very big puzzle, and Dr. Wright defines them as measurables, and I don't see them as separate or apart. I just see them as a piece of. Trustee Ryan?
For me, I just think that we need to kind of be very careful when it comes to CPS, because we're talking about someone's life, parents, moms, dads. So when you do call CPS, I just think that we need to kind of be very careful when you talk about calling CPS. I think we need to assess the situation more thoroughly to find out exactly what's going on and then provide that service.
Well,
You know,
let
to
me
the
just
man.
say this.
You know what I'm saying? That's something.
If a child, but I just say that if a child is not coming to school,
Mhm.
then the school district, and I say this, and I'm not gonna speak for Wyandanch, but I'll say having worked in 2 school districts, that if that child is habitually absent, then the school district is supposed to be documenting it with Child Protective Services, so that, because you never know what's going on. But while you're still working, the child is still working with either a social worker or there's still that outreach taking place. But the school district, because they are mandated reporters, must report, because that is educational neglect. And there may be some other underlying issues, because a child is a child, and a child didn't ask to be born, but there's certain conditions that that child may be in that's hindering them from coming to school. So we must document.
How do we handle truancy, Dr. Ray?
Yes, I think one of the things that's really important for us, and we've had the conversations, and I think everyone is starting to understand my expectations in terms of communication with families. Number one, documentation that these conversations have taken place, because we really have to understand, those barriers of why our families aren't, sending their students to school, or if they even know if they're not coming to school. So I think it starts there, because if there are some barriers, then it's our role to break down those barriers. Clearly, in some cases, they're struggling to break those barriers down on their own. So we have to work with the families in order to do so. So I think that's where Trustee Brown is coming from. We have to make sure we're doing our due diligence first.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to that, Trustee Brown, because as a person who worked obviously in social work for a number of years, I've probably seen the most atrocious living situations. I've shared on other occasions about, before it became child trafficking, it was prostitution, right? Very early promiscuity and things like that, where you were trying to track down young people who were missing, not going to school, acting out, behavioral issues, etc. And CPS was always a system that was involved, right? And then you pull in your school systems and your probation systems, etc. So it's all valid, but it is a very sensitive area to trickle in, and we just have to be very mindful and leave it to the experts to do their diligence. But again, how do we address truancy right now in the district?
Well, we have the attendance teachers, and they're supposed to be tracking that data, and we're at a point now where Dr. Jordan has created, absolutely, gotta speak into existence to happen, right? But Dr. Jordan has is in the process of creating a tracker for that as well, so that we're looking at attendance every day, right? And so from there, we're able to have those conversations, and it's gonna get to a point where I'm gonna wanna see what those attendance teachers are actually doing. And I think it starts prior to getting to me with the person who oversees attendance, ensuring that they're looking at the attendance and of those students who are chronically absent. And so I just had the conversation. What was that, 2 weeks ago when I met with the administrators? You were here for a minute and then you left out the day we had the groundbreaking ceremony, and I explained to them that although we were only a few days in, we do have many students that are already considered chronically absent. It's 10% of the number of days of school sessions. So we need to start looking at that. Those calls need to start happening, because we will be monitoring and we will be looking for reports. So that's how we're going to be dealing with it this year. Keeping everyone on notice, and those expectations. And then yes, there will have to be home visits taking place this year as well.
Before I come to you, Tristan, I just want to ask, what is the tracking system called? Is it an improvement to our district-wide attendance system? Is it specifically for chronically absent? Like, where are we, or does it encompass all?
Yes, it's going to encompass all, yes. But we specifically have to look at those students who are chronically absent, right? Because when you are, I think I talked about statistics last time, and what the research says, so. Because you can look, your attendance rate can look good, but your chronic absenteeism rate can still be high, right? And that's the difference. And now that we understand that, is what do we do about it?
I think Principal Sibbs makes it very clear you miss a day, you miss a lot. It's very true. But our absenteeism, I feel like it should be set a little lower. 18 days is just, it's a borderline. And I think 14 days is already too much, you know? Especially for our school, we have a very small error of margin. A very small error of margin. But I think missing those many days already, it's enough. Especially for our Spanish-speaking kids that are learning how to speak English now, comprehension. When they go sit to take the Regents, it might not be written the same way their teachers gave them tests on it. And they need to understand how to answer those questions so they can pass the Regents, so they can graduate.
Well received. So Board of Education, we don't know exactly what our absenteeism goal will look like, but if you had to put some brevity to it, what would it look like, Trustee Moore? Would you change anything? Would you add anything? Tristan said number of days. More, and then Dr. Wright, please.
So I have a question first, and I do have two goals that are connecting a little bit to the family and the community, but just a question going back.
On 3 and 4. Okay, go ahead.
Just a question going back to what's in place now, what happens, how are we handling truancy?
Sure.
And I heard you talk about a tracker possibly being created, and also what's going to be put in place and phone calls being made. But I didn't hear, Dr. Wright, what are we doing? And I did hear you say that there's a large amount that's already absent, that has been absent, and we just started. But what did we do? Can you tell me, as a board member, a new board member, what do we do actually when kids are absent repeatedly? What's in place now for our district?
Right, well, there are phone calls that take place first and foremost.
Those are by the social workers?
That's by the attendance teacher, am I correct? Yes. And then, there's the phone calls that take place by the attendance teachers, but then from there, you know, when we have students that are still absent after that point in time, then there are home visits that will be taking place, you know, so that we can find out what's the actual reasons why, you know, it's happening.
And I keep hearing that word will, so I don't want to hammer this, but I just want to understand it for me.
But you got to remember, I wasn't here.
Right, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. So that wasn't what was set up already prior to your being here, correct?
I can't say that it wasn't, but I know that the attendance, I saw that I had a concern with the percentage of chronic absenteeism we had, specifically in 3 of the 4 buildings. In one of the buildings, the chronic absenteeism rate is very low, but in the other 3 buildings it's high. So it's high in our early childhood, it's high in our high school, and it's high in our other elementary school.
And so I know you can't account or explain anything that might have happened or didn't happen prior to you coming, but was there anything that you've seen set up already regarding how the absentee attendance was handled? And I just need this personally, just so I can know what else we can measure outside of whatever goal we set, but we still need to look towards what will happen. I want to know what was happening, and I know you don't have.
Right. So what I've learned first and foremost, like in my travels, is that intentionality is where you start. So you can't, if you're expecting something, you know, to take place, you have to monitor, right? You know, and so you have to inspect what you expect, right? You know, and so that's why we are creating this tracker, because then it allows us to see what the attendance rate is each week. You know, it allows us to see what the chronic absenteeism rate is each week, and then from there we can have the conversation with the schools. Hey, what's happening? This is the percentage, you know, that we're seeing. What are you doing about it? give us the names of those students and what has been done. If you don't do that, you know, you can make phone calls home or say that you're making phone calls home, but if we don't see, if we're not inspecting it, then how do we know that it's actually happening? So it starts there.
Okay, thank you.
But
Moving-
I mean, if there's something else that you're alluding to, I would love to hear it.
It's not really alluding, I don't think I got an answer. I just wanted to know, and this is not pointing fingers, what happened prior to you becoming superintendent? How did we handle these cases of kids not being here? Do you know? And if you don't, that's fine.
That didn't happen, you know, so that's
Okay.
all, that's all I know is that
Okay.
didn't happen, so I can't say the intentionality, you know, because I wasn't here and, you know, I didn't have that conversation with prior, you know, superintendents. And that's no disrespect to them, you know, they
Yeah.
I'm sure they have systems, but this is just a system that I'm bringing forward.
And I'm glad you said that word, you sure they had systems, but you don't know. And if they did have a system, if it was me in any other format, I would look at what someone was doing prior that didn't work, so I don't do the same thing. Or if it was working to a minimal, improve that process. Sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's the only reason why I was asking what was in place
Right.
prior. That's,
I'm saying,
thank you.
thank you.
Your microphones. Moving on to goal number 3, deals with family involvement, community engagement. We call them families because we know that we live in a generational community. Grandmas, grandpas, aunties, neighbors, cousins, etc. Brothers and sisters raising brothers and sisters, different things like that. So it could look something like this. Increase family involvement at minimum 1 board meeting per month as evidenced by showcasing student academics and other area achievements for the 25-26 school year. Did anyone else write a goal around parent engagement? Please share it.
Thank you. So, so I had 2 goals. One of them was called community trust and transparency. And that the goal, that's my topic, you know, when you're preaching, you do topics and co-topics, you know. So, but it was to build and maintain strong trust between the district and the community through transparency, accountability, and consistent communication. And the objective with that would be to develop and implement a transparent communication plan, which was including regular superintendent newsletters, just adding some stuff to your list.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Quarterly community forums, and updated district-wide. Establish a community dashboard to publicly track progress on key district priorities. Ensure that all major decisions, including stakeholders' input through surveys, advisory councils, or public engagement sessions. This is one of my big things, to respond to all community concerns within a 10 business day window with follow-up with communication outlining the actions taken. I remember prior to me becoming a board member, sitting in the audience, going from one meeting to the next in 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes I didn't hear the follow-up to something a community member might have brought up, and so that's why I put that objective in there. And then the family and community engagement goal that I have is strengthen the partnership with families, local organizations, and stakeholders to support student success and enhance school-community collaboration. And the objective that I wrote for this is to launch a district family engagement council to provide ongoing feedback and help shape district initiatives. And I think I spoke earlier to one of the community members that has family here. Increase parent and caregiver participation in school events, workshops, and conferences by 25% over 2 years. Okay? But we can partner with at least 5 local community-based organizations, businesses, or higher education institutions to expand student opportunity and resource. And I was thinking also my last bullet and objective for the family and community engagement is to create a parent university. And I know there was something like that you had, and I might be doubling down on it or piggybacking, but it's a serious focus on supporting learning at home, navigating school system, and post-secondary planning. This is definitely gonna take a lot of engagement with the community to get where we're at, but this should be done in 2 years.
Thank you, Trustee Moore. So 3 and 4 together for a reason, because as you heard her read her goals, we want to increase community involvement at minimum 1 board meeting per month, as evidenced by showcasing local businesses, organizations, faith-based, centers, right? Building community connections and mentorship programs for Wyandanch youth. That's the whole point of partnering out with your businesses and your faith-based and your community organizations to create opportunities for Wyandanch students for the 25-26 school year. A lot of that is in measurable outcomes. Dr. Wright, please share where you went with engagement and that umbrella of measurable outcomes, sir. Number 3.
So I think one piece that we've already begun to do, especially from the summer, is invite families to join the various committees. They need to be part of the committee work that's happening, because that's how they know what's actually happening in the district. Right. So that's something that we're going to continue to do throughout the course of the year. And similar to what was stated around newsletters, want to also just increase social media presence. So that's something we've been intentional about. I was just up at the NISCA's conference, for school leaders, and I ran into someone that I knew from when I was in Dutchess County, and she said that, one of the things she's noticed is that the social media presence, it seems like it has increased over the last few months. She said it looked good. And I think that we still have a ways to go, but it's good that, people are taking notice to what we're doing, here in Wyandanch. Just improving transparency, what goes along with it, improving transparency in terms of the decision making. So just letting families know, so whether it's by, once again, having the forums, the town halls, just so that families are involved. And one of the things we're going to do next week is we're going to the town hall that we had last week. We're going to make sure that families understand what's happening. We're going to do it via Zoom. Just trying to make sure that parents feel connected to what we're doing, and I think those are ways that we can go about it.
If I may.
You may, Dr. Wright.
2 things. I'll answer as pertaining to board meetings. A few months ago, I presented a resolution requesting, and thankfully the board voted in favor of it, that we move board meetings away from Central and rotate around the district. And it was for the purposes of celebrating student achievement in that building. So let's say we go to the high school, then we would expect from the administration at the high school to recommend students and staff for us to celebrate, which will not only bring out the community so that they are involved in the process, but to give general a level of excitement around board meetings, so that people are not just coming to see a showdown, but they're coming to see a celebration. Yes, and their co-workers and whatnot. So that was the purpose of it, and to have it in every building, which I do know with the approved calendar that we will be moving to other buildings throughout the district starting this month, I believe, right? Yes. Okay. Now, secondly, as it pertains to parent engagement, in 2009, I want to say, probably earlier than that, the school district took funding, took the allocation in Title I funding and really focused on parent engagement to where you had various parent academies within the district and especially around those parents of students with disabilities, those who are in special education, where they were able to go to training and also to be trained on how to become advocates and of themselves, so that they are able to, when they sit in a annual review, there's not like there's two different languages being spoken in the meeting. So I did put here in my goal was to reestablish strong parent engagement programs similar to those implemented during the 2009-2012 school years, with a focus on families, especially with students in special education, to provide training for parents to effectively advocate for their children and to understand their child's academic standing and IEP. Also, transform our schools into community hubs. We did receive a few years ago it was very low, I believe 15 to 25,000, but the mental health clinic grant. We're the only one on Long Island to receive that, which is a good thing. But it gave the impression to those watching that the district is transforming and is not only meeting the child and helping out the whole child, but also the family as well. Because if the family is suffering, it's going to trickle down to the child. And you even shared this in our meeting that you want our schools to be more accessible as well. And then one other thing that we do need, and I didn't put it down, is we should look at implementing adult education programs. Aside from just training with just the little bit of Title I fund allocation we have of 1 to 2%, but we should look to expand into adult education programs, which our neighboring school districts have. So that way parents, if they even want to come and do yoga in the school district, at least they can do that. And while they're there, they may have some questions. But there's a way to reel them in.
I agree with that. And that's what I wanted to say. It's the why. We have to give them the why. Why come to school? Why participate? We could tell them all of this sounds great on paper. But when you really get down to it, it's the why. What is the why? What is the reason why our children should come to school and learn? Why come to Wyandanch? Why should I put my child here? So I think that we can focus on that a little bit more. And partnerships are big, and we need to get away from who the messenger is and to listen to the message, right? Because I feel that we are always focusing on who the messenger is and never what the message is. And this is what I see in the Wyandanch community, is why no one gets along, why we're not thriving and moving ahead, is because we're always focused on who is bringing the information to us and not what the information is and how it is going to make an impact and a difference in our community.
So I'm glad thank you. And I'm glad the topic of community schools, came up. We that is something that we are looking into. We did have a meeting approximately a month ago about community schools, and we're looking at how to implement it. And I won't say this year to happen, but by next year, the goal is to really get it off the ground. We want to make sure that our schools do become the hub. I sat down and had a conversation with Dr. Jordan about that this summer, how concerned I was that, the lack of after-school programming that's available. We do have through some of our community-based organizations, but if we get it into a hub, into a system where it's both academic and enrichment taking place, I think that's what would really engage our students, plus give them those resources that they need to be successful during the school day. So community schools, I'm excited about the idea. I actually sat in a workshop just yesterday about it. It just excited me more, and somewhere shortly down the line I have some things that I want to bring to you all. I think that you may like it, but I have some ideas.
Interesting.
And just going back, if we don't mind, when we talked about chronic absenteeism, I think we need to put something in terms of percentage, decreasing by 3 to 5 or by 5%.
That's fair.
That's
what we have to define as a board. I'm just using that as an example.
Yep.
I'm fine with that.
Just one question. Does the board have a Instagram or Facebook account strictly that is all of us, the board. We should definitely have that, especially if we're gonna be moving around, going to the school sometimes to hold a meeting. The Facebook account for the board would definitely be great. Things that we talked about could be posted on there. Upcoming events could be posted on there, and these upcoming events could be posted a week, 2 weeks in advance. That way, these parents have time to, prepare for it, and this is an easy way for you to get to them, right? This is not being sent out by mail. Yeah. This is not just an email, just a business, inquiry. This is more of you're going on your phone, you're looking on Instagram, Facebook every 5 seconds, right? So I think that's a very easy way to get to these parents and students.
Now, Tristan, I will say that I know that our district has individualized Instagram, and I don't necessarily think Facebook so much, but I think district offices, I think MLO has one, I think athletics might have one. Different areas of our school system has Facebook pages, Instagram accounts, but who would run it?
This could be started by you, right? And we could, everything that's posted could be ran by everybody.
Sure. And we would do what, like fields? So let's say Trustee Brown is out in the field doing some work at Wyandanch Plaza, and then she sends over some pictures and say 10-2 at 3 to 5 family engagement, and we'll post that. And then Trustee Moore was over at the carnival in Farmingdale, and you want that type of platform. Right. We'll talk. At the pleasure of the board. I'm not opposed to it. We just really have to be careful about what we promote. Our likeness and our image. Remember, we represent an entire system. Right. It's our entire school system riding on it. So if it's at the pleasure of the board, but I'm not opposed to it at all. I like the idea.
Especially why everything that gets posted definitely has to be voted off by everybody, whether it be in a group chat, because I know we need some type of documentation. So that's why we
figure out
should.
The mechanism, but I see where you're going.
Good idea.
Like it. All right, we're coming to the home stretch, and just because I know most districts have financial goals, one of the biggest financial partnerships and contracts that we've entered in is really around our early childhood center. So it could look something like the district will complete the construction of the new early childhood center by September 2027. As evidenced by careful monitoring of the project by the business official to stay within parameters of the budget and obtaining the final certificates of occupancy. Something like that. Also, we could say we want to decrease, be more energy efficient, decrease spending by 5%, etc. Did anyone write a financial goal? No. Mr. Chase, talk to us about what financial goals look like for schools.
I think we're achieving them pretty well, actually.
We did all right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think we're achieving financial goals pretty well here at this point. Looking at like this goal and at least one of the others, to me, I thought these would be goals for this school year.
Yes.
This is a multi-year
Plan.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, there's two. You could do both. I mean, obviously so. And I mean, there's one thing about your graduation rates or your absentee, and you could say, well, this year we want to do it by X, and over a 5-year period we want to do it by Y. So I don't know what. I'm not sure what you want to commit to
For the
this year. Yeah, rather than, that's why I just bring it up. But, I mean, the financial goal was really to continue on the path that you're on. Be able to do what we've been able to do the last few years, which is to be able to put some funds away that helped us to be able to put together this ECC project. Respect the, know that the community is out there and there's only so much affordability. Yeah. And certainly, I'm going away from what I just talked about for 25, 26. It's a long-term plan, because those reserves aren't going to last forever. We can't count on getting millions and millions of dollars from the state every year. They've been very generous the last few years, certainly, and the money's been there, obviously, because you see, you know, the governor giving sort of inflation rebate checks. That means they had a surplus, but you know, bad times might be coming for the state. And as I've said to the group before, that you know, we are very dependent on state aid, and that being the case, the fortunes of the state are largely tied to the fortunes of Wyandanch. You know, more so than most districts on Long Island. So.
Points taken, Mr. Chase. One of the reasons why I wrote it in the window of 25-26 is because, to be frank, I like to see some level of movement now. Now, again, I don't want to overarch on the SMART goals. The measurables up to Dr. Wright and his team. I think that there was really good input from every member about how they want to see it done. I just want to see it done.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Now, if the Board of Education says they want to tier maybe a financial goal and a graduation goal, fine. We just have to put put the values to it, and I'm open to that too. Lastly, we were at the high school a couple of nights, and we noticed that it's very dark outside. We heard Dr. Wright tell us a little bit about mechanical issues on different campuses. We've heard about lights needed in our high school, different things facility-wise. So number 6 talks about improving the safety, the functionality, the energy efficiency, and the proper operation of all our district equipment on all of our campuses, as evidenced by working sewer cesspools, parking lot lightings, etc., to be remedied within the next 30 days of the 25-26 school year. Are you aware that the parking lots are dark?
Yes, yes.
Do we know why?
Mr. Wilson is.
I'm aware.
Why are they dark?
Because there's no lighting.
Please.
With the exception of the Franklin Harder. Because
No, we
No,
call
it's-
it at the high school.
I-
Yeah.
I don't know, either of you remember the emails, but Dr. Kwan was present when we had a discussion this morning, I think we were at the high school. It just so happens that we have a walkthrough tomorrow and or Friday with the Building and Grounds Department and a company that was recommended to us by H2M to install, to utilize, I'll put it that way, some temporary solar lighting for our schools at the high school, as well as they're going to assess MLO, MLK, and LFH. It's our intent to have that up and running within 30 days and keep it running through, I think the date I put out there for the group was March 31st. If we have to go beyond that, that's fine. That's one. So again, these would be, in terms of MLO and the high school, would be solar panel temporary lightings. We may do something else at MLK, LFH, depending on the need. Part 2, though, is once the electrical plant upgrade is completed at MLO and the high school, we would be switching from the rentals, if you will, to permanent lighting for both schools. For both at the high school, both the front lot and the rear lots. But so, I don't know if you guys were in a meeting room with the high school this morning, but we reconfirmed, and I'm glad to see that there, and I'm glad that we were pressing it and on it, and all on the same wavelength.
Thank you, sir. And as far as our plumbing and our sanitation system, go ahead, Dr. Wright.
Right, so that there's the lack of power is the reason why, to answer the question, that's why it's so dim.
So 30 days is a fair window.
Didn't know about the power before now.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Why the board didn't know about the power before now, because when we had our walkthrough, Mr. Wilson, you and I walked out, and that's when we saw it. Now, we had lighting last year.
We knew about Madam Vice President, there may be two different things. The board was aware of that the MLO and the high school were at capacity. That's why you guys approved us to do the project to increase the capacity. But I'm not going to say, so the second part is, I'm not going to say that was the reason the district didn't have the proper lighting at either MLO and the high school. In part of the problem at MLO was we have light fixtures that were up and standing, but nobody changed the light bulbs. Something, I kid you not, that's simple. Or, in another case at the same school, it wasn't a light bulb replacement issue, it wasn't hooked up. I got nothing for you, other, you know. Well, so I'm explaining it. There are two issues. One is a quote-unquote maintenance issue as it relates to MLO. There was one light up at the high school as well. But then the second part is that in order to do something better than what was there, on a permanent basis, it's an electrical issue. We have to upgrade the electrical plant at both schools.
Really quickly, I want to say about 2 years ago, the director of security came before the board and did a presentation on these things. And I thought, and I am going to bet my top dollar, that after he did the presentation, actually that's more than 2 years ago because you weren't here yet, Mr. Wilson. But I thought the money was secured already to fix the lighting, especially at the high school in the back parking lot. Because it, yeah. So what part of the high school are we talking about now? So, but I thought all around the building it was done when they did this major security, when they did the major security upgrade.
In the morning, we were there.
Yeah, when they did this major security upgrade, the lighting at the high school was fixed. Now, it's a process of it, they turning it on, and which is the reason why I said take out LaFrancis Hardeman, for example, because when we had a board meeting down at LaFrancis Hardeman, it was pitch black.
Going out.
Yep. But then when I drove past the building 2 weeks later, and ever since then the lights been on at night, and it's lit up like a Christmas tree. So I think, yes. So I think that we need to look at what we have and ensure, like you said, you know, it might have been a light bulb, which you found it wasn't changed. But I'm not going.
Yeah, no, we have a sense, I think we have a good handle on what the need is as it relates to the high school.
Got it.
All right. We're doing a needs assessment walkthrough to determine what, if anything, is needed for MLO, LFH, and MLK.
Got it.
That's already been determined for the high school.
Gotcha. Now, the second part of this goal, as pertaining to sewers and cesspools, is, I'm going to put it as only I can say. My brain is going to explode if I get another phone call about the middle school kitchen. I've been hearing about the middle school kitchen for the last 6 years, and I'm not understanding how it was that the sewage is backing up into the kitchen. And I'm not understanding how 3 years ago, when the problem occurred, we was told it was fixed. They shut down the bathroom, did all of this stuff, and it was good to go, cleared by the health department. And now, last week, the problem came back. And we paid some good money to fix it too.
And counsel, I'm going to ask you to stop me when I need to stop.
Don't start.
But the
Let
source,
me get the microphone ready.
because it's the problem originates going back to 2015, 2016, when the district acquired portables for the middle school. I think we discussed it in part in executive session as to what the problem, what the cause of the issue might be. That has pretty much been determined. The placement of the portables has pretty much been determined to be the major cause of the problem.
In the kitchen.
With the sewage leaching system in on the property that's causing things to happen within the kitchen and elsewhere in the building. I mean, a hypothetical. I won't do the hypothetical.
So,
When is it gonna be fixed? That's just it.
It's a long-term solution, it's not a quick fix. There's a quick process to address things. For example, we are scheduling the cesspools, the operating cesspools, to be pumped every 2 weeks now.
That's too expensive.
It's at $5,000 to $6,000 per pumping. It's required. It's required. It's required. That's our short-term solution, and by short-term, I'm talking a year to 2 years of this. And like I said, once we know the entire scope of the problem and the entire scope of various alternatives, we will come back to the board and fill you in and get your guidance on that. But I want you to know here and now that we're aware, there is no quick fix, but in the interest of safety and sanitary and sanitation, thank you, we're going to be, in order to try to prevent what's taking place with the backups and everything else, every 2 weeks, 12,000 gallons, because 12,000 gallons is the capacity of the existing tanks. And just to give you a little more insight, we should, if all tanks were operating, we would have 4 times that capacity. And the reason they're not operating goes back to 2015.
Wow.
Got it. So now, before Steve Malone left office, he was at the high school graduation and said to me, him and the presiding officer, well, still is now, Kevin McCarthy, they said that they secured money for the middle school and high school to be connected to the sewer line. Now, I've been trying to figure out how they're going to do that and how they're going to run a pipe or a line all the way down Little East Neck Road. But they said the funding was secured. Jason Richburg said he alluded to that, but then put another twist to it. However, I think we should meet with our elected officials at the county level and talk with them about this issue, because they said over 2 years ago that the funding was secured to have the high school and middle school hooked up to the sewer line. It hasn't been done yet, but it is a long way to go. You never heard of Mr. Chair?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I mean, the only one was the DASNY project.
Which was here.
Here.
Yeah, but they had said that the money was secured and all of this stuff, but I haven't seen it. And my argument was, you mean to tell me y'all gonna get approval to rip up Little East Neck Road just for the middle school and high school? But then they said the even greater thing was coming, which now all properties in Wyandanch, for the most part now, are supposed to be connected. Because I got the letter now. But
Connected to the sewer system?
correct.
On both sides of town? All sides of town?
I'll see about that side. However, it would behoove us to at least have a conversation with 2 of the people that are still here. The presiding officer, which he'll be out by January, but and Richburg.
Yes, so I'll be I'm in the process now of setting up a meeting with Mr. Richburg, so that's one of the topics that I'm going to.
As we close, ladies and gentlemen of the board, you have a final responsibility to figure out what you will adopt for your annual goals. I know that Dr. Jordan is working on graduation data just to kind of give us a more informed number around what percentages look like, around attendance. We're looking at tracker systems and different mechanisms to be more honed in on the chronically absent. As it pertains to engagement, I think we all agree that measurables need to be adjustable and ever evolving. Really great ideas for Dr. Wright to add to his measurable column. But I think we all agree that student achievement, engagement, and attendance are our top 3 priorities. What say you, board? Yes? Yes, and yes. Board of Education, are we going to adopt what has been presented by the superintendent and add measurables to it? Or do we want to be more specific and take 1 or 2 of our own and add it to the list? We all do. That's what I wanted to point out.
So what I can tell you, I think where it's fairly easy is to incorporate a lot of what was said outside of what I had sort of measurable objectives.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I think that we all agree. The point of this exemplar was to really talk about how we shape our thoughts, to give the public and the common listener an idea about how we arrive to the decisions we arrive to, and to show that your Board of Education does use critical thinking, high-level thinking to achieve the best outcomes for young people. And we also wanted to infuse our young leader, Mr. Tristan, in this conversation, because after all, we set the goals for your success. I thank you, and I guess we can take an action at, I don't know if we need to write it up, I'm not certain, but this portion of this presentation is over. Thank you.
Really quickly, if I would say this, I heard while we were discussing the goals, it mentioned about our Spanish-speaking students. Let me provide some little education piece here. If you look at the district data, and I mentioned this to Dr. Wright and Dr. Kwan in our meeting a few weeks ago, if you look at the data that is reported to the state of New York that they in turn put out to the public, our Spanish-speaking students not doing so bad. It is our African-American students who are doing very bad. So bad that the state won't even report the actual data. So on the New York State Department of Education's website, when you go to the section of African Americans, you'll see how many African American students there are, but they won't show you how many graduated. They won't show you how many are still enrolled. They're just dashes. And I was taught by a superintendent that when you see dashes, it means it's so poor that the state will not embarrass the district. I just wanted to mention that to you.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Spanish population in our school is very, very high. So, yeah, the African American area might not be as high as them, but that Spanish-speaking population plays the highest effect in our data and what we analyze. So, affecting that demographic in that area mostly would give us the correct data to analyze, especially when we're dealing with such a big population of students.
Got what you're saying, but when you look at the data and you see that it shows that that group as a whole is doing well. Now we know that there are some who may be, or a lot that may be in need of support, even though they do hold the majority. But what I'm saying is that for the African American students in the district at the high school, their performance is so poor that the state won't even release it. So even though we have students who have identified according to state data as Hispanic, and there may be 56%, but as a whole they're doing well enough for us to even as us even sit out in the public to look it up and say, all right, well, let me see how our groups are doing in the high school. They're doing well enough where at least you can say, all right, I know how they're doing. But when it comes to African American students, so poor we won't even know. But I get what you're saying, Tristan.
Yeah, you are right as well. But with the percentages that we have, the graduation rate that we have, and that error of margin that we have, every piece of data matters. So you are right. We do need that specific, set of data that they are withholding from us. Whether it would be bad, good, it needs to be released because once it gets put into our trackers, once it gets analyzed by all of us, and as we're coming up with these systemic solutions, that's going to be affected, that's going to be recorded, and that's going to be used again.
What are you saying?
What are you saying?
I get it. That's
Right, I see it here. What's not recorded?
You see what says Black African American?
Yep, I
You
remember.
see those dashes?
There are no dashes.
Dr. Wright's on.
so I know what you're talking about. So I can look and figure that out.
Type in high school.
Go ahead.
So what happens is when the subgroup data.
Okay. Mhm. Oh, break it down by demographic. Okay. Oh, okay, gotcha. So you said that already, I believe.
Yeah, but I said what it was for last
Okay.
year.
So when you get down to,
I was able to figure that out for you.
Okay.
you see here, those dashes? So it's so poor that they will not report each section.
So what happens is,
You wanna skip to it?
It's not a blemish,
Right.
it's just,
so when I do it, there's two reasons why that happens. Number one, if there has to be enough students in the subgroup to get the number. I can't remember offhand if there's enough students in the subgroup. The other piece is, if there is, I'm able to find that out by looking at the total number of graduates. And then I subtract all the numbers that it showed, right, and then I see what's left.
yeah, there's ways around it.
Yes.
There is ways around it. It's just, as it says, black or African American, and you just cross-reference across that line.
Right.
You won't be able to easily identify.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
But then there, we gotta look at the whole chart holistically though, because then there's 0 percentages.
You know what, there's a problem.
These go.
What is the
Okay.
solution?
These go.
Though,
Jordan and I,
how many times
Okay,
you came up
good.
with goals for the board, and you're still in the same situation? So, I'm just asking.
Well, I just want to say, my recollection, the 5 years I've been here, this is the first time.
This is the first time
I
that the board came up
formally,
with goals?
Formally.
as a set of something written down.
Because there's something
as
that
a
pulls you and
plan.
somebody derails it
I
and.
think it's a great.
I mean, but, you know, you always express meeting after meeting your grievances and stuff. But when it came to a meeting where you say, here's the goals, you know, and the board have always asked the superintendent to provide goals. When it came to the board saying
We always have.
collectively, here's the goals for the district
Derail it.
and the blueprint, or like Mr. Chase said, the commandments. This is the first time.
With that, is the Board of Education ready to adopt, or what would your next step be as a collective?
I guess we should at least allow Dr. Wright the opportunity to factor in what he said, from what some of us had said as his outcomes, or if he has that clean copy, then we can go with it tonight. Or if not, we can wait till the next meeting.
I prefer we don't wait until the next meeting. That's my preference. But whatever the board, the pleasure of the majority of the board.
What are some of the key? What are some of the wonderful ideas that I handed him in my
Get
goal
lost in
setting?
translation?
Yeah, that he wants to incorporate in his. We are not giving him the opportunity to do so.
All right, so what would the board like to give him all of the measurables from each sheet and let him compile a new set of measurables to marry them and then vote on them? Is that what I'm hearing? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yes.
If that's all right with
Yes.
Mr. Chase.
Yeah, I had thought the board has its set of goals, very broad, they're very broad.
Mm-hmm.
And then the superintendent has his,
Mm-hmm.
along with, I guess, the particulars. And as Mrs. Moore said, you know, she gave a lot of particulars, and those would be the ideas of how. Yeah, rather than, and the board is really doing the what.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we
That's
would
my
like
what.
to
I did the
do
what.
the
That's what you
family engagement is a goal.
That's right.
How we do it
Is
would be
and is
implemented,
measurable.
you know,
Wasn't
with
it cool?
the, certainly with the guidance of the superintendent. I mean, that's just how I see it.
That's exactly what we just did.
I agree.
Yeah.
So,
I just, you know, just on a couple of goals, I mean, I just have a couple of comments.
Please.
I think that, I was just a little confused on number 2.
where are you?
Like, the goals from there.
Remember, Mr. Chase, Mr. Chase, and it's an example of it. Let's go. Let's hash through it.
Yeah, that it reduced the number of excused absences.
Unexcused. It's a typo. Unexcused.
Right, unexcused by 15% in the
Doesn't have
next quarter. It's a little soon, no?
We can do it.
Yeah?
There's trackers.
That sounds overly ambitious, but
All right.
that's why I'm.
But we
just
can
saying-
change that number. These are just numbers that I've used
Yeah,
to
no, I'm
start the
just saying,
conversation.
I thought maybe a little bit of your goals
Like
are
what?
really for the year, with the
All right.
exception of the 30-day goal for
Yeah,
My
that's
friend
immediate.
over here.
He said it's, you heard him say you can get it done. What should that look like instead of a quarter? What would you think is reasonable?
Well, when you say by 15%, so you're gonna.
We could change that
Are
too.
you looking at taking the existing percentage and
Yeah.
decreasing that by 15%?
The newfound data.
You can only go by last year then.
The newfound data.
System, but excuse that.
Right.
Is that a technical?
It
So
is.
that's why I'm asking.
His cabinet said it is.
Who?
She nodded. All right, so let's drop the 15 to say, to what? What does the board want to see it drop to? 10? Tristan says 10. Baker says 10.
But,
You may. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking a quarter is the.
But that was the whole point of the
issue,
conversation,
not
to come up with the numbers.
Not the percentage, but the quarter, the time period.
These are exemplars.
You're talking
That was the
about
point of the conversation.
2.5 months.
And I said it several times. And I pulled them in. It doesn't have to be that. And it doesn't have to be that. But it's a thought pattern. You know what I mean?
no, you have to go.
Go ahead,
My
Candace.
question was whether or not the board wants to plug in any specific number, because as Mr. Chase was
It could be
saying,
broad.
the point is to have broad goals, and then the superintendent and the board and the implementation of the goal
I want
will decide on
numbers.
your
That's
own
my
numbers. So rather than kind of arbitrarily choosing a number at this point, perhaps the goal should be to reduce the number of unexcused absences. And then from there, you have your own internal implementation. Okay, we're going to aim to have it reduced by 15%.
That's right. That's fair. That's fair too. I'm okay with that.
No, it's all, you just need, as you said, some factor that could be measurable.
Correct.
That's all.
That's all.
So what's the measure?
That's determined by the board.
Right.
Right.
And just the last word on number 2.
Yep.
Well, the last sentence, provide incentives for good attendance and improve district-wide attendance system. I'm not sure what that means. I
Tracker,
say improve district-wide attendance.
Okay, we can do
I don't
that.
know.
Meaning,
Is there
we
anything
know-
wrong with the system?
Yeah, there's something
That
wrong
we-
with it. He just said it.
Okay.
Did you not?
Okay.
So I would, so can I?
Yes, you
I
can.
reword it and I'll reword it?
You can.
But want to adopt it tonight, right?
Okay, go ahead. He said it. He said that it needs to be
So,
approved.
then I just have a question then. As pertains to the goals that trustee Moore and I presented, our own separate goals,
Yes.
because then I'm confused. Are we
Yes.
then just giving the superintendent each topic and then he's going to determine the measurables? Or are we now going back to us presenting both?
What do you mean by presenting both?
Where we're presenting the topic and the measurable?
No, the topic.
I thought we,
Okay, so then, so then the whole conversation then on 15% and reducing the absenteeism, then we shouldn't even be talking about it then if we
We
only
should.
give him the
It was a
topic.
conversation piece.
If we only give him the topic, and then he'll go with the outcome or the measurable,
Clarity.
then we should then
I
leave
just
that to
stood
him.
there for an hour and a half. Lord have mercy.
Right, so if we use reducing absenteeism as one example,
Correct.
regardless of what that number is, we need to know that it is going down in order to meet that goal. So whether it goes down by 5% or 15%, that would be some type of
But
improvement towards
going
the
back to
goal.
what Mr. Chase said, and everybody said yes to, he said that we present the goal, have the superintendent present the measurable, the outcome. So that's on the superintendent to say that he would like it to be reduced by 5% or whatever. And then we say, okay, we are in agreement with you on that. But what Mr. Chase said and what we said yes to was the board gives the generic. We want to see the graduation rate improve. We want to see family engagement improve. We want to see, this and that. And the superintendent work out the measurables.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I think what you said, is certainly in line. When the superintendent comes back and says, well, realistically, I think that the graduation rate can be increased by X, and here's my rationale.
Mm-hmm.
The board's either gonna say, you know, if he comes back and says 0.5%, I think some of you are gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
You know, if he comes back with 10%, you're gonna say, whoa, that's pretty ambitious.
Sure.
But what I'm just saying is that he would come back with the how to do or percent numbers, the measurables,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'd have a discussion about that, whatever the topic happens to be,
You can't just
whether
keep
it's
in mind, the conversation
absences or
is to define the values,
graduation rate
right?
or
If you want to put values,
family involvement or what have you.
that's important.
So, Mr. Morris, if I'm understanding correctly, you're just trying to make sure that after the superintendent is able to
Infuse or incorporate.
exactly to come up with his own measurements for what the objective should be,
Yep.
that you would like the board to have some input so that we're all in agreement about it. Perhaps what could be done is today you would,
I'm partly saying that because then, like for instance, the goal that Mr. Chase referenced to,
sure,
right? President Walker created those. So what I'm saying is what would go with the goals that even I drafted and also Trustee Moore, because we then heard that he would work with those and incorporate that somehow.
sure.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We just go with the goal in and of itself, and then have the superintendent come back with the measurables. Because there was some stuff, even while we were speaking, that he said he can put in as a measurable.
Sure.
I think that makes perfect sense. At the pleasure of the board, what you could do today is to adopt those very broad goals. Those are the goals.
Mm-hmm.
And at the next meeting, you can separately adopt the measurable objectives
There we go.
towards reaching those goals. So it would be that two-part process that you talked about when we
Correct.
began the meeting, Mr. Morris. So today would be goals, those broad overarching goals. Next meeting would be the more specific measurable objectives. So the overarching goal, let's say, is to reduce the number of unexcused absences.
Correct.
Then the next meeting, the measurable
Would be
objective would be
anything.
to reduce it by the end of the school year by a measurement of 10%, to throw out a rough number. Does that seem like it would meet
Well,
what you're looking for?
So yeah, so we're going with the generic tonight. So
Yes,
I think we can do
but
that
does
now.
this
Get
relate to
it
that?
over with.
I agree.
Not always.
And then we can, you know, 15%, all that, put that in the superintendent, he'll come back to us.
So
with
yes,
that.
then it would
That
be
makes sense.
no. Okay. Talk to me, Candace. What do we need to do?
Okay, President Walker, so tonight what the board is going to do is, it is going to approve a resolution accepting and approving those broad goals that were mentioned tonight. So in a moment, I could read the
Yes,
resolution, and then I would need someone else to read the kind of finalized broad goals as the board has agreed to during the meeting. And from what I understand, we're talking about 3 goals.
Yes, we are.
Okay,
Student achievement, engagement, and attendance.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
If the board is ready to vote, the resolution would read, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts and adopts the goals for the 2025 through 2026 school year as presented during the October 1st, 2025 board meeting as set forth below. And Mrs. Reed, what would go below is a copy of what President Walker is about to read in terms of each specific goal.
Before I do that, Candace, am I reading it from here or from here? Or from here?
Which ones are we going with? Because this is the superintendent's goal, right?
Right.
And those were,
These are the ones I just did.
those are the ones that you presented.
Correct.
And I think those are the ones that the board said they gave the okay
They
to.
gave you okay to. Make sure, Candace, before I read. Mm-hmm. Then I'll read that. Just make sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I won't.
Increase,
And I just won't give the percentages, and I won't
increase the
give.
district's high school graduation rate
Mm-hmm. You could take out the percentages.
by June 2026 as
Right.
evidenced by expanding differentiated instruction in classrooms and increasing tutoring sessions
Mm-hmm.
across all grades in the high school,
Mm-hmm.
period. Reduce the number of unexcused
Well, chronic
absences.
absenteeism covers that.
So you wanna say decrease the chronic
Right,
absenteeism rate?
because that covers everything. That's a general goal.
Okay, and
Yeah,
none
take
of
that
this
out.
would be included, so we're just,
Yeah, I think we could take that out.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Make it
Decrease
general.
the chronic absenteeism rate Now, this first goal was specific to the high school. This one is throughout the school district?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout
Okay.
the
Not too bad.
school district.
Don't do
Then,
it.
number 3, increase family involvement.
I think
At
they like
minimum
those.
one
I think
board
those
meeting.
were okay. Those are general. I think
But this is,
you could just say increase family, community, and
You wanna go with this one instead,
you can do that.
for engagement?
So for engagement, you can go with this one. Or infuse them somehow.
so increase community engagement?
You can put that.
It needs to be family, community, and family, community, and school. It needs to be all 3. But we know that it's engagement under the engagement umbrella.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we just titled it engagement.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then this number 4, that's
That stays?
already covered, right? Because this goes
Yeah,
towards
these will be
community
covered by this.
engagement. Okay, so then you've
All
got
right.
1, 2,
and
this
3.
is the last one.
All right, let's do it. All right, just to pick up where our legal team just made it clear where the overarching theme are as follows. Increase the district's high school graduation rate by June 2026 as evidenced by expanding differentiated instruction in classrooms and increasing tutoring sessions across all grades in the high school. Number 2, decrease the chronic absenteeism rates. Number 3, family, community, and school engagement to increase engagement throughout the district by providing a welcoming, validating, and affirming environment for all stakeholder groups. Now for the vote.
That would call for a motion.
Call for motion to vote on resolution number 1 as read by Candace Gomez and the president of the board. Is there first? Corbin Brown. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed or abstaining? The count is 7-0-0. Question, Dr. Wright, do we have any other business that needs to be attended to on this evening? We have satisfied tonight's business. Clerk Reed, is there anything else we need to address this evening? Motion to adjourn.
Morris?
Up.
I
Can you have-
apologize. I apologize.
Superintendent, we just,
I know. You know what?
can
I
we
just
pull those
wanted
back
to-
real quick?
Yes.
Can you guys pull that back? We pulled it back. Go ahead.
pull it back?
Yes, we pulled it back.
I just want to welcome Ms. Rashida Wallace back.
Welcome back, Ms. Wallace. Nice to see you, ma'am. That's it? All right, I think that was a Morris Brown.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed or abstaining? Hearing none, the count is 7 at 7:14 p.m. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.